Poor black girl asks millionaire, "Can I sleep in the doghouse?" What he did next shocked everyone. The rain poured down in heavy sheets, relentless and cold, drenching everything it touched. In the midst of it all, a small figure stood alone. She couldn't have been older than 6 years, drenched to the bone. Her pale skin was barely visible beneath the wet fabric of her thin cream dress that clung to her small, fragile body. Her once neat braids hung loosely, wet strands sticking to her face. Her arms were wrapped tightly around herself, not out of defiance, but to protect her from the biting cold. Her name was Amira, and she had been walking for miles. She had no umbrella, no shoes, no shelter. But now she had reached a large, pristine house at the end of a quiet, wealthy street. It wasn't the grandeur of the house that drew her in, but what lay behind it, a small wooden doghouse tucked neatly beside a manicured hedge. She approached it slowly, the rain dripping from her face. She knelt in front of it, her hands clasped tightly, her lips quivering. It was then that a voice spoke behind her, cold and firm. "You shouldn't be here." Amira froze. A tall man stood in the rain, his tailored beige suit soaked through, water streaming from his sleeves and jawline as if it didn't bother him at all. His golden hair was drenched, and his polished leather shoes had already darkened with mud. He was Callahan Reed, a billionaire real estate mogul known for his unyielding demeanor and sharp business instincts. He had stepped outside only because he noticed his dog hadn't returned to its house. Instead, he found her. Amira turned toward him slowly, her wide eyes meeting his with no fear, only quiet resolve. She didn't run, nor did she lie. She simply asked in a soft voice that he could barely hear, "Please, can I sleep in the doghouse?" Callahan blinked in confusion. For a moment he thought he misheard her, but she repeated the request. "Just for tonight. I won't take anything. I just don't want the rain to touch me anymore." Her voice cracked on the last word. Callahan stood motionless, unsure of what to make of this strange child. Who was she? Why was she asking to sleep in a doghouse as if it were a sanctuary? She looked up at him with eyes too full of quiet pain for someone so young. There was no tantrum, no begging, only the raw, unspoken acceptance of suffering beyond her years. "I don't want to bother anyone," she added quickly, almost apologetically. "I just saw the dog had a house, and I thought maybe I could have one too." Her words struck him like a punch to the chest. Callahan crouched down in the mud, rain dripping from his hair and soaking into his collar. He looked into her eyes that should have been filled with wonder, innocence, and joy, not survival and quiet apology. "Where are your parents?" he asked, his voice softer now. She lowered her gaze. "My mama died. My uncle, he said I was too much. He left me at a gas station." A coldness deeper than the storm around them settled over Callahan. He had spent his life among the wealthiest, gold, glass, and cold business deals. He'd been surrounded by men who smiled with teeth too perfect to trust. But this child in the rain, her raw honesty, it was the kind of real that didn't let you look away. "Have you eaten?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "Not since yesterday." He paused, his thoughts racing. Was this some kind of setup? Was someone watching from the shadows? Should he bring her inside, or would it cause trouble? But in that moment, none of those questions mattered because this child had asked to sleep in a doghouse, and that was all he could see. His eyes flicked to his golden retriever, sitting in the doghouse, safe, dry, and warm. Behind him, his $1 million mansion stood, glowing with warmth and light. And yet here he was, kneeling in the mud next to a child who only wanted what a dog had. "I'll only stay tonight," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I promise I'll leave tomorrow." Something inside Callahan cracked. Slowly he stood up, reached down, and offered her his hand. Amira hesitated for a moment, staring at his hand as if it were too good to be true. Then slowly, she placed her tiny, freezing hand in his. He said nothing. He didn't say a word. Callahan simply scooped her up, holding her close, and made his way toward the house, mud, rain, and all. Behind them, the dog barked once, its doghouse now empty. The grand front doors opened, and Callahan Reed, his clothes soaked, stepped into his mansion, cradling the trembling child in his arms. The staff froze in disbelief. The butler, the housekeeper, even the chef. None of them could hide their shock as their powerful, pristine employer walked across the marble floors, his arms holding a drenched little girl, her muddy feet leaving faint prints on the imported tiles. "Get towels," he commanded sharply, "and warm soup. Now." They scattered, moving quickly, while Amira clung to his shoulder, shivering against him. Her wide eyes took in the grand foyer, gleaming marble floors, the sweeping staircase, and the gold chandelier hanging overhead. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Is this what heaven looks like?" Callahan paused, blinking slowly. Her simple question cracked something inside him. "No," he replied softly, "but it will be tonight." The staff returned with blankets, wrapping her in thick layers to warm her up. The chef brought over soup, toast, and hot cocoa. She sipped slowly, her small hands shaking as she held the cup. No one asked questions, only watched quietly. Callahan sat across from her, still in his wetsuit, his elbows resting on his knees as he studied her with an intensity as if trying to understand a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "How long have you been on your own?" he asked finally, his voice quiet. Amira took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "Since last week, after my uncle left me." "Why didn't you ask anyone else for help?" He pressed gently. She looked down at the floor, her voice barely audible. "I did. A lady at the gas station told me to go away. A man said I was just causing trouble. A woman gave me $1 and told her kid not to come near me. So I stopped asking." Callahan's jaw tightened. He had walked past people like her before, on street corners, under bridges, always assuming someone else would help, that someone else would be responsible. But here was a 6-year-old girl asking for nothing more than to sleep in a doghouse because she feared another rejection. "I didn't come here because the house looked big," she said quietly, meeting his gaze. "I saw the doghouse. I thought if someone builds a home for a dog, maybe they're nice." He swallowed hard, his heart heavy with the weight of her words. Later that night, Callahan sat alone in his office, staring at the sleeping child on the couch, curled up like a kitten under a thick quilt. The rain still tapped softly on the windows, but her breathing was steady now, peaceful. Then came the knock. "Sir," the housekeeper whispered as she stepped inside, her voice hesitant. "Should we contact someone? CPS? The authorities?" Callahan nodded slowly, still watching the child as she slept. "Yes, tomorrow. But just for tonight," she asked cautiously, her eyes searching his. "Is she staying?" He turned his head, his voice steady and low. "No, she's not staying for just tonight." The following morning, the city awoke to a headline that would shake it to its core. "Millionaire takes in homeless girl who asked to sleep in his doghouse." The story exploded after a staff member, deeply moved by what she'd witnessed, shared it online. A photo of Callahan, standing in the rain with Amira in his arms, went viral within hours. News crews swarmed the streets outside his estate. Social media erupted with the phrase, "If a child is brave enough to ask for a dog's house, someone should be brave enough to give her a real one." And Callahan? He doubled down. "I'm not fostering her," he told reporters with quiet resolve. "I'm adopting her." The city was stunned. No one had seen this coming. This was Callahan Reed, a man known for acquiring family businesses, not nurturing them. He'd never been married, never had children, and once openly admitted that parenting wasn't something he thought he was suited for. Yet now, here he was, standing proudly beside a small black girl in a new dress and clean shoes, holding her hand as he announced the launch of the Amira Foundation, dedicated to helping abandoned children find not just shelter, but love. And the most surprising part? He didn't do it for recognition. He never sought the spotlight. He turned down every offer for exclusive interviews and simply said, "The only story that matters is hers." And how many others are out there, waiting in the rain, thinking a doghouse is the best they can ask for? The world watched as people wept. Donations flooded in. Amira's story became a symbol for neglected children everywhere. The man who had once seen everything through the lens of profit now saw the world through the eyes of a little girl who had once whispered, "Please don't let the rain touch me." And that girl? She stopped whispering. Amira smiled more now. She laughed. She ran barefoot across Callahan's garden and fed his dog scraps from the table. Within a week, she called him Dad, because the most unexpected thing had happened. He had become one. And everything changed. The staff, the city, and even the world around them was never the same again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like it and hit the subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.